We started this Christian year idea with Advent. It was, it's the new year for the Christian. It starts every year with the anticipation again of Christ coming to the world and what it means. And the Christian year, it's a continuous and repetitive chance to walk through the Christian experience. Starting with Advent, we get about 6 months to walk through essentially the life and the ministry and the death of Jesus. We get 6 months to really connect with that. And then beginning on about what's called Trinity Sunday, we make this transition, and it's about 6 months of ordered time is how you might call it. And this ordered time, it's a chance to consider the church that Jesus has left in his place. And so it gives us a year, repetitive cycle to just kind of keep an eye on it. And every once in a while get back in touch with the story of Christ and the story of the church and really where we're grounded. So we start with Advent, and we went through this experiential time of anticipating Jesus coming as an infant that we mark with the Christmas celebration. But in re-experiencing the anticipation and the realization of Christmas and Christ coming, we also got to consider the anticipation, the hope that we still hold for his future coming. He's going to come and he's going to fully usher in this new age of existence where God sets everything right. As opposed to this old age where we see injustice, poverty, suffering. What Jesus fulfilled, though, when he came to earth was to create this overlapping time of old and new ages. Some referred to it, I had talked about Jesus coming forward to us from the future, to bring from the future this new age reality of where God will set everything right. Not new age as in what was a few decades ago, but new age as in a new way of living that's coming in the future under God's revisions and God setting everything right. And so Jesus had brought this overlapping time of old and new ages. And where the church is called right now to be is where we're supposed to be the setting right now of the beginning of the realization of this new age of living, where everything is set right, where injustice and oppression and suffering we're trying to bring those to an end. This is supposed to be that place where the new age is realized most clearly. And so after Advent and Christmas, we've mostly been in this season called Epiphany. The season is a time to reflect on the discovery of just exactly who was Jesus. Great. We anticipated the time before he came. We anticipated the arrival of Jesus, and he shows up as an infant. But now we walk through this experience of an epiphany. Who was Jesus? And just like we talk about epiphanies now, it dawns on me. The light bulb comes on. There's that chance to walk through and find out who Jesus is. And it's a chance every year to deliberately walk through that again and rethink on Jesus and his life and what he meant. This year, we've been using the time of Epiphany as a time to explore prayer. We're with Jesus on this 3-mile-per-hour walk down the road of life. A place where God wants to enjoy the journey with us just as much as the destination he's bringing us to. And so we're on this journey with Jesus, and prayer is this term that we've given to that conversation that takes place between our physical side of the walk and the divine side. And prayer is that term of communication for those in this mystical connection. We still have a bit more to explore on the topic of prayer, and we'll explore that in the next few weeks. But this Sunday, we're taking a break to introduce Lent that starts this week. So what's Lent? This might be new for several people. I don't know. I know it's not big in some churches, and other churches, millions of people, they jump in, they celebrate Lent. And so what is it exactly? Well, Lent refers to the 40 days plus the Sundays that lead up to Easter Sunday. It's a time spent anticipating the culminating work of Jesus that's going to take place on the weekend of Easter. And I'm here to invite you into Lent today. I'm here to invite you to celebrate with me. Lent is probably known by most as a time of fasting. So you ready? Sounds exciting, right? Webster's dictionary actually offers a definition of what Lent is. And Webster says, Lent is 40 weekdays of fasting and regret for my sins. Sounds amazing. Sounds so fun and invigorating. So who is ready to join me for 40 days of just regret and fasting? There we go. We got someone who's excited. Yeah. No, Lent, I believe, is not actually as meant to be as dark as some might make it sound. Lent is actually, it originates from a springtime word in the Germanic language that points to the lengthening of spring days. It looks to a time of life springing out of the ground that had basically turned into a hibernation time. Over winter, nothing new or exciting had really happened. And some things had just died off. Things had reached a flat state in winter. But in spring, all of that changes. The days lengthen. New life comes from the ground as the days get longer and the necessary things come to help life flourish. And so Lent points to this time in its roots of the language, points to this time of the lengthening of days. So it's not this regret and this dreary time. It's pointing to a time of new changes and new life. It might be said that Lent points to a time of reorientation, where things have been one way, almost stagnant, nothing new and exciting, and they've kind of just been going on this flatline way, just as it is. It's a steady state. But they're about to be reoriented into something new. Particularly in the season as we move to re-experience the death and resurrection of Jesus. It can change something in us as we're heading towards Easter. Lent, I believe, is for us that deliberate time of choosing to reorient myself. Just like we see in nature, the seasons shift, they reorient, and this is my chance to step into a change of seasons. Lent is essentially taking 40 days to voluntarily destabilize who I am right now and to create a reorientation. We can consider the way things have been for us. What all do we have in our life? And we can choose to fast or give something up for Lent. I'm going to take this out of my life. I'm going to destabilize an aspect of my life. And let's see where that reorients. But fasting isn't meant to be this dreary thing. As one writer put it, I love this quote, the goal of fasting is beauty, not bleak duty. And so the benefits of fasting are many. I want to highlight one for you as I introduce the idea of Lent. We're caught in a society of undue consumption and extreme entitlement. What Lent offers me is a deliberate time to separate myself from such a lifestyle that I can get pulled into. One writer said, and going down this road, or this aspect of fasting, one writer said that fasting teaches us that there's nothing wrong with the world when I don't get what I want. By fasting from something, I can experience my hunger for that thing. I get to see how strong my desire is for it, even how much I've come to rely on it. And I get, for 40 days, to choose to free myself from it. But here's the key about Lent for me. The fasting isn't just about me. It isn't just about bettering myself and preparing myself to anticipate Easter by simply choosing to be inactive about something as I give it up for 40 days. I give up watching TV. I give up chocolate. Whatever it is. I choose not to do something. That's not what Lent's all about. Even a dead man doesn't do something. The key to Lent for me is how Scripture presents doing fasting. It presents doing fasting as an active thing from me towards others. And here's the scripture I invite you into for the 40 days of Lent this year. Isaiah 58, verses 6 through 8. You'll see this on the notes if you grab the notes. God has just finished telling his people, good job. Good job. You talk about how miserable you're making yourselves with your fasting. You're like, God, see how miserable I make myself for your attention? Do you see how I just tear myself down? Don't you love this? And he's talking to his people and he's like, look, you're moping around miserably. You're generally just not in a good state. Do you really think I'm excited about this for you? Especially when at the same time as you're trying to be miserable personally to get on my good side. In all the other areas of your life, you're being selfish, oppressive, and you're fighting with each other. So God says, do you really think this is what I enjoy? A miserable bunch of hypocrites? Inflicting abuse on those around themselves as well as on themselves. Is this what you think I'm really all about? In Isaiah 58, verses 6 through 8, God says, no, this is the kind of fast I want. I want you to remove the sinful chains. I want you to tear away the ropes of the burdensome yoke to set free the oppressed, to break every burdensome yoke. I want you to share your food with the hungry and to provide shelter for the homeless and oppressed people. When you see them naked, clothe them. Don't turn your back on your own flesh and blood. Then your light will shine like the sunrise. Your restoration will quickly arrive. Your godly behavior will go out before you, and the Lord's splendor is going to follow you. It's going to be your rear guard. So here's the active part of fasting that's added to the first part. These are two of the key points for those watching online that I hope you take from today. The two parts of a fast is first personal. We choose to personally give up something to internally better ourselves, to free ourselves from something for 40 days. The second part of fasting is social. We also, during fasting, ensure that while I'm working internally to better myself, we also ensure we are extra actively working externally to better things for those all around us. And what happens with these two parts of fasting in mind, this would be the third key to today. With these two parts of fasting in mind, Lent becomes an amazing 40-day invitation to liberation. It's a 40-day invitation to my liberation from something. And it's a 40-day invitation for the liberation of all creation. As I especially focus during Lent on saving the world from oppression and hunger and whatever else I see in the affliction of others around me. So this is a 40-day invitation to liberation. Lent, with its fasting, officially begins on what we call Ash Wednesday. Tuesday is considered the day where you can psychologically set yourself up for the 40 days to come. All right, I've made a decision. I'm ready. I'm going to start this on Lent. This is what I'm going to commit to for 40 days. Tuesday is when you get to go, okay, I'm going to steel myself for this. If you're in the gym and you're getting ready for a heavy lift, it can be the same thing. I love the gym, and you come up to a heavy weight and you just go, I'm mentally ready. Tuesday is that moment. And that Tuesday is often referred to as Pancake Tuesday. We got some pancake fans. Since the most common type of fasting in Lent is a food fast, from where we consider to free ourselves from essentially culinary extravagance that we now take for granted. Sugar and meat and fat. The most common type of fasting for Lent is food, and what a household would typically do is on Lent, they would hold a final meal with all those things that were found in the house to get them eaten up and out of the house. Number one, so they don't spoil, but probably in my opinion also, so it's not a temptation for 40 days. Still sitting in my cupboard. This Tuesday of gorging yourself on all the rich food in your house to use them up is also why Lent, the Tuesday before Lent, is known as Fat Tuesday. Most interesting to me, though, is that all the ingredients other than the meat, what happened was that typically they most easily combined to make pancakes. So the Tuesday night before Lent was a dinner of pancakes. It was the easiest way to make everything, put it all together, and have a final meal before Lent. Thus, Pancake Tuesday. Numerous households around the world would eat a last grand meal of pancakes before setting their focus to 40 days of personal transformation and world transformation. The next morning, after a carb coma of pancakes, the next morning is when Lent starts. The fast begins. What people choose to give up for Lent, it does vary broadly nowadays. It often is not even food related. We have so many things in our world that compete to pull us in that can be meaningful to fast from any number of them. Some give up TV for 40 days, all TV. Others will give up social media. I'm sure many of us have had friends. I have several who over the years, they'll be like, all right, guys, see you in 40 days. They'll post it on Facebook or something. But the list can really include any luxury item you can think of in your life. Desserts, sugar in general, alcohol, meat, hot water. I know some who have given up hot water for 40 days. The list can go on. So Lent and the fast, it starts on Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday comes with its own reflections and its own importance. And this year, we're going to be joining millions of people around the world to hold a special Wednesday evening service. The service will be short. It'll be a special service at 6 p.m. For our online audience, it will be live streamed. I know we have several who watch us online as well now. It'll be live streamed on Wednesday night. So if you can make it, would you please join us as this amazing community keeps an eye on the journey of the Christian year and goes through this experience, a transformational experience that we get to go through every year, and it continues to shape us. And by coming on Wednesday, you can help support each other as we make a serious commitment to trying to go 40 days without a luxury item. It was easier way back when. Sugar wasn't 200 pounds in a grocery store back then. The things that people would fast from was hard to get anyway. It was true luxury, and now we can take it for granted. So the temptation can actually be harder for us now in Lent than it may have even been back in the day. So Wednesday night is a chance to come together. I know at least a few who are already going to do this. They're going to be here Wednesday night, and I invite the rest of you to come as well and come together as a community to support each other for this 40 days of liberating ourselves from something, whatever we feel called to liberate ourselves from. And 40 days of paying special attention to where we might be able to bring liberation to others. So there's my invite to you all this year. Will you participate in Lent with me? As I've said, this isn't meant to be something dreary. It's meant to be an invitation to liberation, an invitation to participate in 40 days of extra observance of the world around me. And to realize just where I may miss it sometimes, where the world around me is afflicted. I'm going to take 40 days to put that into view in a special way. But not only is it an invitation to do that each person individually, but it's an invitation to do it as a group. In case you haven't noticed, I do try to leave a lot of room for each person who's in this community and the personal journey that they're on, the different places where we all are. So there's no guilt if you're not here. This may be completely new to some of you. The earlier quote on fasting, I believe, should be applied to Lent. Lent should be a thing of beauty for those attracted to it, either for the personal experience or for a group experience, coming together to celebrate Lent. This should be a thing of beauty. It should not be presented as a bleak duty. If it becomes a bleak duty, it loses meaning. It loses any transformational shaping that it may truly bring to us. It becomes something that I just do to conform to those around me. So here's a hopeful invitation that you'll either do it because you want to do it personally, and or you'll do it because you want to join with this amazing community for this incredible experience. So it's a hopeful invitation, but it's also not, it's a guilt-free invitation.